Um, it's Christmas, just about a year ago. I'm in the car, I'm driving. Jonah is 17 and he's in the back seat. He's ignoring me as per usual, doing something on his phone. And Emily is 21, she's riding shotgun. And Emily's an excellent shotgun, and she serves as my social secretary. She takes care of everything on my phone while I'm driving. And I've always been aware that this is dangerous business, that is very convenient, but one of these days she's gonna see something that I wish she hadn't. And that day is today. The phone lights up, and I glance over at it, and the text begins with the word congratulations. And I know right away what this means. Hamilton is coming to the Bushnell, and I have been entering the lottery every day. And before I have a chance to say to Emily, don't do that, she picks up the phone and she looks and she goes, oh my God, she says, you entered the Hamilton lottery and we won 2 tickets for tomorrow night. And Jonah now all of a sudden he's interested, and he perks up in the back seat and goes, wait, who gets to go? And I hate to tell them, but the answer is nobody. My kids are big Hamilton fans. They've been listening to the soundtrack for years. And the year before, for Hanukkah, Andrew and I, we gave them tickets. We took the whole family to New York, to Broadway, to see the show. I got the tickets early in the spring, and I held on to them. And come the holidays, I wrapped up a whole bunch of boxes with like shredded newspaper and cans of tuna fish inside. And I made them open everything until the big reveal came. And when we went to the show, it was everything they had hoped. It was thrilling and magical. And we walked out with them saying, when can we go again? Like that's a thing, going again. But now here are these tickets, right? And what are we going to do about it? When Andrew and I moved to Connecticut, it was 2001, 2 weeks before 9/11. We moved here from New York City with just Emily. Jonah wasn't even born yet. I was pregnant. And we picked this really lovely town to move to. It's pretty, and it's outside the commuting radius of both New York and Boston, so houses are relatively affordable. Schools are good. The crime rate is really low. We've been there 20 years, and there's been 1 murder. And I know, but it's a nice town. It's a nice town. And we moved to this town, and I know that I'm in for a change, but I can't really understand what this change is going to be like. Like, this happens to me all the time with big life changes. Like, I think I know what I'm in for, and I don't really until I'm in it. But I find out that fall. Emily wants to be a Girl Scout, and there's a woman down the street who's in charge of signing people up. And I go to her house and I say, my daughter wants to be a Girl Scout. And she says, that's great, I'll put her in a troop. But she says, the only way to really make sure that your daughter has a quality experience is to volunteer to be the troop leader. So now I've gone from like my life in New York to I'm a Girl Scout leader, and I drive a minivan, and this is now my life. And I call Jane, who is my assigned co-leader, and we make a plan to get to get together for coffee. And I go to her house, and we're going to plan our program for the year. And I say, all right, but Jane, there's this one thing I have to tell you. I said, I'll do anything you want. I'll take them places, I'll do things, whatever you want. One thing though, no Christmas. I said, my family is Jewish, we don't celebrate Christmas, and I really cannot get on board with this whole kind of like whitewashing and secularization of Christmas, like it's an American holiday that's for everybody, which it's not. And Jane says, that's great. She says, I'm so glad to be doing the troop with you, she says. Last year, in my other daughter's troop, we had no diversity at all. And I was like, holy shit, this is where I've moved. I'm diversity. Like, I'm just a Jew who votes Democrat. But in my new life, I'm diversity. This is not the life I've left behind. In New York, all sorts of people live side by side. I was there when gay men marched in the streets with signs that said silence equals death. I knew people like Larry, the homeless man who hung out in front of my stoop selling stolen books to earn his living, and conveniently enough took special requests. I was friendly with people like Juanita, who's a practicing witch, who spelled her name W-A-H-N-E-E-T-A because she was not going to carry her father's name everywhere she went. It wasn't even the 21st century, and that bitch was smashing the patriarchy already. And now, right? And now, I'm diversity. We looked around, Andrew and I, at our lives, and we said, you know, we made a good choice. We are happy with where we live. And it is, as they say, a good place to raise a family. But what have we sacrificed? What will our children not know growing up in a place like this? And how can we bring them the values that we cherish and make sure they find them in this place where instead of haves and have-nots, they are just surrounded by haves and have-mores? How's this going to work? And we look for opportunities for what is called tikkun olam, the repairing of the world. We insist that they give to charity out of their meager little kid allowances. We look for places and times when we as a family and they as kids can volunteer. We do Girl Scouts. But we're aware that all of this giving that is being asked of them comes from an abundance of resources. No real sacrifice is being asked of them. But now here we are in the car with these Hamilton tickets, and I am about to ask them to make a sacrifice, to not go see the show again, so that someone who can't see the show can go. And let me just stop and say for a moment, I am aware that on the spectrum of sacrifices, this is not really that terrible, but let's also say sacrifices in the eye of the beholder, especially when that beholder is an adolescent. And I say to the kids, I don't want any of us to go. Here's what I want to do with the tickets. And incredibly, they don't balk. My amazing kids say, great, go do it. And I call my friend Jackie, who teaches low-income college students, and I tell her what I'm up to, and I ask her if she can help me make this happen. And she says, I know just the kid. He's a black gay theater nerd who came out to his parents and got kicked out of his house, and he's never seen a Broadway show. She says, give me a couple of minutes, I'll get back to you. And she texts me a screenshot of their conversation. And he says to her, Miss, I can't believe you're telling me this. And I call the Bushnell, and I tell them my story, and I convince them to break the ironclad every city in the universe, no transferring your lottery tickets rule. I convince them to help me make this happen. And they tell me that the next day, this young man can show up at the box office. I can remain anonymous to him, and he can show up at the box office and claim his tickets with his name and his ID. The next night, at about 10 of 8, Jackie texts me again, and she forwards me a selfie that our student has sent to her. He's with his sister about 10 rows back, waiting for curtain, and he and his sister are just beaming. And I call the kids and my husband over to the phone, and I show them the picture of the Christmas miracle that we've made happen for somebody else. And as we look at the picture, we are beaming too. Thank you.